Hey guys, Ike here from IkesOutdoors.com. We're here today to do a review on the new Striker X Broadhead from G5. Okay, I'm going to give you a close-up look at these out of the box, but I just want to give you a little bit before we get into the specs of these. These are a new Broadhead from G5. This is a new version of the Striker V2. This is the 4-blade version of that Broadhead. A lot of similarities to it, a lot of similarities in the design, but this is a 4-blade version of it. So 33% more cutting surface, and I wanted to show you this part right here specifically. That is the actual cutting diameter of these broadheads. So huge hole. A lot of people think that you have to have an expandable broadhead to get a huge hole, but you do not always have to have an expandable broadhead. Actually, when you have 4 blades versus some of the 2-blade broadheads that are expandable, you will get a larger hole, and it will actually be a round hole rather than just a slice. So you may or may not get a better blood trail out of those. But a lot of people discount some of these fixed blade heads because they think they get more cutting diameter, or more cutting width out of some of the expandable broadheads out there. But when you look into the actual cutting diameter of some of these fixed blade broadheads like this X4, you're putting a big chunk, you're putting a big hole in the animal that you're shooting with these. So I'm gonna get these out of the box now and give you an up close look at these, and then we're gonna do a sharpness test on these to see how sharp they are. Okay, so here's an up-close look at the Striker X, and this is a new updated version of the Striker V2. I love the Striker V2. As you can see as you'll see later in our sharpness test, this thing is super sharp, beyond razor sharp. It has 33% more cutting surface than the old V2. It has an 1.5 inch cutting diameter, but with 4 blades, you can see the size of the hole that you're gonna get when you shoot an animal with this broadhead. Okay, so this is available in 100 and 125 grain, and it's also available in a standard and a crossbow version. The packaging on here, when they send this to you, they send it to you with a band-aid on here, and that is because they are so sharp. And no, I didn't cut my thumb on there. I've got something else going on with my thumb. But this is a super sharp broadhead. Like I said, 1.25 inch cutting diameter on this thing. It has the ultra sharp Lutz blades that they've been using for as long as I can remember. This has replaceable blades as well, which I really like. 100% steel, 100% steel tough is what they advertise. Machined steel ferrule, which I like. It doesn't have an aluminum ferrule, it has a steel ferrule. So with these cutouts on here, you're going to have good improved flight. With the G5 Montex, I had good flight even without the with the cutouts on there. I like the design of the ferrule. You can see it's got an ultra chisel point to it. It's got an ultra fine point to it, and it comes down to a nice point from all 3 sides. So really like that aspect as well. Annex ANIX blade locking system on there, and you can see when you get this thing in the broadhead, I'm probably going to cut myself with this, but when you get this thing in the bow or in your arrow and you get it tightened up, it is locked into place. I'm going to take this deal off the back here, and we'll see what it is like when it's not hooked to an arrow. Okay, so like most of these broadheads that have replaceable blades, when it's not hooked to an arrow and not tightened down, you can see it will come apart. This is going to come apart pretty easy, just like that. So you want to make sure it is tight, and it is in the arrow really nice and tight, but it has a really nice locking system on it. When you slide this thing in here, you can see how it slid. The blade slides under that head right there and locks into place. So when you get your ring on the bottom and you tighten this thing up, it's going to lock that blade into place very well. I'm going to put this thing back together and show you again how well this thing is locked into place. Okay, so with that one blade locked in there, you can see this thing has no movement to it at all. You can see it does not want to move around. I didn't do anything but tighten it by hand, and you can see that blade is definitely in there and definitely stuck. So the locking system on this is very good, and that's something with a replaceable blade broadhead that I take very serious. I want a really good locking system. So let's put this thing back together. Let's go outside and let's see how it flies. Okay, we're going to establish our baseline here with a brand new razor blade. Okay, cut number 1. Cut number 2. Cut number 3. Cut number 4. Cut number 5. Okay, so it's been a couple days since we recorded our intro. I took that time to make some ballistics gel to test out the wound channel on this broadhead. If you're interested in learning how to make ballistics gel, comment below and I'll maybe do a video on that. It is a fantastic way to see exactly what your broadhead is doing and see if your broadhead is going to open if it's an expandable. So I took the time to make some ballistics gel so we could see what kind of wound channel this Striker X is making. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing just a strength test. Now, as far as tuning this thing goes, it took absolutely no time and no effort to tune it. This is the Quest Syntech that I'm going to be reviewing in a couple days, and I had this bow I had this bow tuned to the G5 Montech head, and this Striker X, I had no issues with getting it to fly out of this bow. I actually picked up my Bowtech that's tuned to the Montech as well and had no issues with getting it to fly out of it either. So tuning this broadhead is absolutely no issue. Accuracy is no issue either. So we're going to be shooting into the ballistics gel and see the wound channel, and then we're going to do just some destruction tests, some durability tests on this thing to see how much punishment this thing can take. Okay, so on a ballistics gel here, you can see what kind of wound channel you're going to get with this. You can see that nice X pattern. You can also see the damage that's going to be caused by this thing whenever it makes that wound channel. You can see it went through both pieces very easily, and you see it just took out a big swath. I can stick my finger right down in that, no problem, and you can see what kind of pattern it makes when it does go through an animal. We're going to cut this down a little bit so you can see the wound channel. So when we cut that and cross section it, you can see the wound channel here, and hopefully the camera will pick it up, but the wound channel goes from here all the way over to here, and so that's a good, good wide wound channel on there, and going to be really devastating to an animal. I've got a little measuring device on my multi-tool here, which is 1.5 inches, and you can see there that wound channel is pretty close to 1.5 inches. You can see on the front here it's a good 1.25 inches and a good 1.25 inches wound channel that goes completely through this ballistics gel. So that's going to do a lot of damage to an animal. Our first test for the Striker X is just going to be 1/2 inch plywood. I have a feeling the first thing that's going to break on this is going to be the blades. Okay, overall the head is still in great shape. It's got a little bit of rolling on the blades, but nothing too bad. I'm pretty impressed with that. I really thought the blades were going to break, even on that 1/2 inch plywood. Still fairly sharp, not razor sharp, but still pretty sharp. So next thing we're going to try it on here is this Schedule 40 PVC pipe. Okay, so I'm pretty impressed that it went through that Schedule 40 PVC pipe without breaking. I thought the plywood might break the blades, but we do have one blade broken right here. I thought it was loose, but this blade right here is just, it's either broken or cracked right at the base. I think it's just cracked right at the base. Yeah, it's just cracked right at the base. So overall, it's still in pretty good shape even after going through that Schedule 40 PVC, which with these replaceable blade heads, it's hard to get a replaceable blade head that the blades are tough. Usually the ferrule's pretty tough, but the blades are pretty weak usually, so the fact that it went through that Schedule 40 PVC with just a few little a little bit of minor damage is pretty impressive. Now if I was gonna go hunt with this, I'd want to replace the blades, but as far as our testing goes, it's still testable. So let's find something a little harder than that PVC and let's shoot it at that. That's probably going to be the end of it, considering we already got a crack in it. Okay, so I found an old can of stain. Stain in there feels like it's set up, so we're going to try to shoot through the lid of this can and see what kind of damage it'll do to the broadhead. Got a bleeder. I'm surprised it went all the way through that can. As dull as it was, it's pretty impressive penetration. You can definitely see the wound channel we got going in the can there. Okay, I'm getting stain everywhere. Most of the stain in here is set up and solidified, but there's still a lot of liquid in there. But I'm really amazed. The broadhead is still in good shape. I shot all the way through this can and through the target behind it. So you can see on the back here, you know, that the stuff is solidified, but that's the kind of wound channel you can expect to get out of this thing. That's pretty impressive. You can see in the front here, that's a big hole. That is a really, really big hole that it put in that can. That's, I mean, it's giant. And then there is the exit hole, and when you hold this thing up, even that thick, goopy stain just comes flowing out. So pretty impressive hole and pretty impressive toughness. I guess the next thing to do is throw some stone up there and just absolutely destroy it. Okay, this is a piece of mortar that I just recently pulled out of my back porch. This mortar is about 100 years old, but it is still really, really hard. And I think that whenever we hit it, it is going to prove to be hard, but it's also going to make a good shower, a good puff, a good powder if it explodes like I think it's going to. Well, to say I'm impressed is an understatement. We put that broadhead through all kinds of hell, and the broadhead is actually still okay. We're stopping the testing because this is the only test arrow I have left. I'm going to put my bow down here. This is the only test arrow I have left. I'm going to have to go get some more. And I've drove the insert back into the arrow and mushroomed the end of the arrow out. So those deer crossing arrows are tough arrows, but that is one wicked tough broadhead. I cannot believe how tough it is. To say that I'm impressed is I'm impressed. To say I'm impressed is putting in the least terms that I can put it. That is extremely tough broadhead. With these replaceable blade broadheads, 9 times out of 10, if you're going to break anything, you're going to break the blades. The blades on this, other than the one that is cracked, which is that one right there, it's cracked at the bottom, are still, oh, that one's cracked too. So we've got 2 that are cracked at the bottom right here at the base. And we shot them through some really tough stuff that I did not expect them to actually survive. I didn't expect it to survive the first thing that I shot it through, let alone all the other stuff that I shot it through. So that Striker X it's easy to tune. It makes a fantastic wound channel, just a huge wound channel. That 4 blades and the cutting surface on this is going to make the hole is going to be that big. I mean, just absolutely going to be that big. It's really impressive how big the hole is. The durability is also going to be extremely good. If you shoot this through a deer, chances are you're going to be able to sharpen those up if they're not already still pretty sharp. You're going to be able to sharpen those up and use them again. And then eventually, if you want to, you're going to be able to replace the blades on these for a fraction of the cost of replacing the broadheads, and they're going to stick with you for a long time. So Striker X broadheads, just like everything I've ever tested from G5 as far as broadheads goes, well, actually anything I've ever tested from G5, very impressive broadheads, just outstanding broadheads. I really like the G5 Montex, but I think I'm going to hunt with these this year because of the cutting diameter and the surface cutting surface that this allows over the 3-blade Montec, and it being just 1/8 of an inch wider. I think this is going to be the broadhead that I hunt with this year, but we'll see. I got some other broadheads that we're going to test out as well. So very impressive wound channel, very impressive durability, very impressive accuracy. Sharpness was off the charts sharp. Just an outstanding broadhead that I cannot say, like I said, to say that I'm impressed is putting it in just very, very minimal terms. Outstanding broadhead, just very, very good broadhead. So check this out at the link in the description below. We have a review coming up on the Quest Syntech, which is the bow I was shooting in this video. We also have, if you want, I will do a review or a how-to video on that Ballistics gel broadhead, or Ballistics gel, which is a really good way of testing your broadheads to see that wound channel, and it's fun to play around with. So really good way of testing your broadheads as well as small handguns and stuff like that. So if you want to see the Ballistics gel how-to video, leave a comment below and I'll get that video put up. But also hit the link to check out these striker broadheads, very impressive. So for more product reviews, how-to videos, check us out on IkesOutdoors.com and on social media on Instagram and Facebook. We're under Ike's Outdoors there as well. Please be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment on these videos. I reply to every comment that I get. So please be sure to like, subscribe, share, ring the bell, comment, and do all that good stuff. That really does help us out. So until next time, appreciate you guys watching.